Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome back to our channel once again. And it is my hope and prayer that the video is going to find you guys in good health. Personally, I am fine, as you can see. Kisumu is fantastic, and maybe you could also let me know where you're watching the video from, the county or the country, in case you are out of the republic. Ladies and gentlemen, Raila Odinga yesterday officially handed over the leadership of ODM party to Professor Peter Anyang' Nyong'o during an ODM meeting in Mombasa. Raila Odinga announced there that he will no longer participate in Kenyan politics and that is now going to focus more on his bid of becoming the next chair of the African Union Commission. But Raila Odinga also annoyed majority of Kenyans when he commented on Adani Group. According to Raila Odinga, Adani is a reputable company. Ladies and gentlemen, personally, I am disappointed in Raila Odinga. I don't think it was necessary for Raila Odinga to even talk about Adani in an ODM event somewhere in Mombasa. I want you guys to listen to Raila Odinga because it's going to form the basis of this analysis.
Otherwise, you're likely to try to condemn very reputable companies. As we see stories like Adani Gate. Adani company conglomerate is worth over $200 billion. It cannot be an Adani Gate. Deal with the issues as they are. If some people have made mistakes, let them own up that they made some mistakes. But do not begin to condemn innocent companies who are basically doing normal commercial transactions. We've seen firsthand what some of these companies are able to do, what PPP can do to an economy. And therefore what I'm trying to say is not to try to ostracize PPP as a concept.
Odinga, however, challenged government to be transparent about the contents of the deal.
You must change the way we address our planned PPPs if you protect the current positioning of Kenya are the most profitable and reliable destination for PPP's programs, and at the same time ensure that the interests of the people of Kenya are protected.
And just like was expected, I want you to listen to the Makwiny Senator, Dan Manzo.
We are aware that there are a lot of bribes being exchanged for these companies to get jobs here. And that is it. There's nothing much that will come out. Bribes.
How much?
In billions.
To who?
To some of these political party leaders. And that's why you find that they are able to fight for it. That's why you find strategic.
Who are you talking about?
I am talking about Raila Odinga and William Samoei Ruto.
They have been bribed?
They have been bribed by the Adani company.
How much? Where was that arrived at?
Well, I don't want to give so much details right now. I'll do it at the right forum in the House. We'll also do
evidence that actually they received money?
There are bribes, and there are brokers involved. So that's why these companies have been given direct procurements. It's not that there are no other better companies in the world who can do a better deal.
Ladies and gentlemen, what is your opinion about Raila Odinga's statement on Adani? Because for me, I can't hide my rage. I am really disappointed by that Raila Odinga statement. So in this video, I want to explain to you guys why personally, I strongly believe that Raila Odinga has committed a mistake, which majority of Kenyans might actually punish in future, if not now. But before you do that, for those who are watching this channel for the first time, please take a second or two, click that subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this, YouTube will automatically notify you. And to the subscribers, I want to continue thanking you guys for your continued support. Because without that support, this channel cannot be where it is. Ladies and gentlemen, without any further ado, allow me to dive in. But again, before I dive in, allow me to take this opportunity to thank the following people. You are seeing their names on the screen there for the coffee which they sent to me earlier today. It goes a long way in supporting the channel. You can also do the same using those numbers. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to be very brief because we all know Adani and we all know the scandals behind Adani. And for those who've taken their time, if you study the history of Adani and the countries they've operated in, majority of those countries are currently suffering the impact of Adani deals. There is no way you can expect me to believe, for example, that Kenyan government urgently required the renovation or the expansion of JKIA when a simple 3-kilometer road connecting just before Mamboleo, Kiare to Mamboleo there. I mean, what's the name of that mall? Lake Basin Mall to a small stretch, the government cannot finish up when several roads projects are stuck. So you can't convince me that that's a very good deal. We also know, because there's a story, the headline of today is that the chief was inflated. The chief was inflated by a whooping, was it 65 million Kenya shilling? Because Safaricom had agreed to some figures. So when Adani came into the picture, the amount was increased by billions and billions of Kenyan shillings. So this deal, as much as Raila Odinga is trying to defend the Adani Group, I don't want to also argue that Adani is a bad company. It might be a good company, but their ethics might not be the right one, especially now that Kenyans are raising concerns about Adani. What I expect Raila Odinga to do, in my view, is that Raila Odinga ought to have asked the government to make available all the details about the agreements with Adani. So for me, the statement by Raila Odinga, in my view, are as the following. Number one, politics is a perceptual game. That is something I've always explained here on many occasions. The perception of Kenyans on Adani, if you ask any Kenyan, if you wake up any Kenyan who is sleeping today about Adani, they'll tell you that they will never allow Adani to take over JKIA. Adani can modernize JKIA. They can do very good things. But Kenyans are raising some legitimate questions. Raila Odinga can only help Kenyans in getting answers to those legitimate questions. Adani cannot be an expert in the energy sector, expert in aviation sector, and expert in health sector. That is clearly an act of state capture. If Adani is an expert on the energy sector, let them deal with that. Let another company try. As things stand today, Adani is even planning to develop some airports in some stadiums in the Republic of Kenya. So Raila Odinga should have known that the fact that Kenyans are perceiving Adani as a scandalous company, they are not going to agree. They are not going to support him on that. So that's number one. Number two, the public rage against Adani is still very high in the Republic of Kenya. Kenyans are still very bitter that Adani is taking JKIA. People who are talking about Adani are being threatened. People like Nelson Amenya. Those are the people Raila should be defending, in my view. Raila should be able to come to the public and tell them that Adani might not be a bad company. But the people who entered this deal might have made mistakes, because he even alluded to those mistakes. Then the question is, if those guys made mistakes, not really mistakes as bribes, if those guys made mistakes, what steps are the government going to make them pay for those mistakes and omissions? Because the rage is still high. Because the rage is still very high. Kenyans are very bitter and they're very angry. They believe that Adani is just coming in to take what belongs to Kenyans. You saw the demonstrations at the airport. Those are aviation workers, people who work there, fighting for their rights. And Raila Odinga is coming and trying to throw them under the bus. Not right. Number three, Raila Odinga is also likely to carry the Adani baggage. In 2018, Raila Odinga entered into some handshake with Uhuru Kenyatta, the former president. By that time, Jubilee government had actually overborrowed in their first term. When William Ruto decided to plant those baggage on Raila Odinga, he could not survive. Raila Odinga carried Jubilee baggage. Up to now, there are those people who still believe that the Kenyan economy went down because of BBI. BBI that did not even cost 2 billion Kenyan shillings. Yeah. There are Kenyans who still believe that the overborrowing in Jubilee took place during handshake, while we all know that all the overborrowing took place before the handshake, in the first time. Raila Odinga carried that baggage until the election. In fact, up to now, he's still carrying the Jubilee baggage. That's exactly what is going to happen with this Adani. Adani is going to emerge as a major scandal, if not now, in the future. Raila Odinga will never escape to carry that baggage. The public are definitely going to lose their money. And of course, there's no value for money in these projects. These are profit-oriented ventures. They want to maximize profits. So Raila Odinga should have just told Kenyans, okay, Adani is not a very bad company. For Kenyans to benefit from the PPP, this is what they need to do. Not just to come and say, you know, Kenyans should not give Adani a bad name. Kenyans have already given Adani a bad name. So how they approach it is what matters. Number 4, Raila Odinga is also going to appear as a beneficiary of Adani bribery scandal. Why do you think Kipchumba Murkomen was kicked out of the Ministry of Transport? Because of Adani. Because of Adani. So at the end of the day, Raila will be viewed as an enabler. And if you go to comments on Facebook, you go to comments on Twitter, on TikTok, that's what most Kenyans are saying. He's basically giving the opponents free propaganda to use against him. Raila has always been viewed as a reformist who should be coming in handy for Kenyans at critical moments like this Adani thing, so that he can explain it in a better way to Kenyans, so that Kenyans will say, okay, Baba alisema hii kitu ni mbaya, hii kitu ni mbaya. But it has reached a point where now Kenyans don't take Raila Odinga seriously. Because previously, if Raila Odinga would have said this Adani deal is good, majority of Kenyans would have easily just followed it. And lastly, majority of Kenyans are also concluding that Raila Odinga is commenting on that as part of his strategy to stop ODM members of parliament from discussing, commenting, or scrutinizing this Adani deal. Because you all know that parliament is where people's representatives are. Parliament is where some of these things can actually be questioned. So ladies and gentlemen, I don't know what to say. If you ask me, I don't think Raila did the right thing. He owes Kenyans an apology or further explanation. Until next time, this is Lee Makwiny. Bye-bye.